we're just building the stupidest world, man. You know, we're just building the dumbest world.
Do you remember when we first started and we were like, this show's not going to be needed in a couple years?
Yeah, man.
We're not going to be religious. We're not going to be bigots.
Yeah.
We're an enlightened species, and we're going to grow so much farther.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we started and we were like, come on, this show can't last for more than 2 years. Who are we kidding?
Man, I've been wrong about some shit. I have been wrong about some shit. LGBTQ Nation. Cops burst into women's restroom to remove Butch lesbian, accusing her of being a man. Now, one of the most important things to point out from this article is that in the state where this happened, there are no laws that prevent somebody of any gender from using any restroom. So what the cops were even doing there.
Yeah, cops don't need to know the law.
No, they don't.
They don't.
But like the thing
because
is,
they're always bad at it.
They're always bad at it, and they're always right because they have a gun.
Well, that's
right?
also true, yeah.
So their gun means that the law is do what they fucking say.
That gun definitely
right?
tells you what to do, yeah.
But like, it's an important point that you're making, because I think what this tells us is that the jackboots of the state will enforce the new social bigotry norms, whether they are encoded into law or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we don't have to wait now because they've been empowered, right? And we've given them so much immunity, and we've empowered them so much, and we have given them so much social cover that this sort of thing doesn't need a law. It doesn't need a law in order for it to happen. You can be not violating the law at all, and the cops can still bust into the fucking ladies' room and shine their fucking flashlights on your feet.
Yeah, well, you know, did you see what happened this week with BLM and Plaza in D.C.?
No.
It got torn up. So they had Black Lives Matter on the street. Remember, they had put it, I don't know if it was in Cobblestone or whatever it was. They had put Black Lives Matter on the street in Washington, D.C. Well, they had passed a bill that said that's something that they were going to come after it or whatever. And so the DC person, before it ever even got put in place, just capitulated and just tore it up. And that's the problem is that there's almost always compliance before there is actually a pressure, right? We're seeing that happen with a lot of these people who you thought might have pushed back in the past. They're not at all now. They're not pushing back in any way. And then you get an opportunity to see how enforcement of this sort of thing is going to happen. And it's just like you suggest, which is they're going to enforce it whether they have the legal authority to do it or not. And this is a perfect example of just somebody just trying to use the washroom, man.
Yeah.
This is what they've made our entire culture about. This is what they made. Like, make no mistake, they used this as a wave to sort of surf in and then destroy all the rest of the stuff we've already talked about.
Yeah.
They've used this under the cover to be like, you know, like they make it seem like, and this is a narrative they keep saying, is where they keep using the groomer narrative, right? They keep saying that over and over. And then they keep saying that these people that want to use the washroom, that they're invading the other gender's washroom, essentially, that they're just invading the other washroom. And they're there because they want to like inflict some sort of damage on people. They're doing it because, you know, they're perverted in some way.
Right.
Not that they just need to use the washroom and that's where they identify. That's the real answer. There's no real like, I mean, it's not like there's any kind of hidden answer there. That's the real answer.
They have a full bladder. Who gives a shit?
But they are trying to make it seem like they're dangerous individuals.
Yeah.
And you know, that's something I hear quite a bit on the other show, that Joe Rogan show I listen to. Man, that happened. That narrative pops out all the time about how horrible they are talking about trans issues, because Joe clearly hates trans people. And Joe will talk about how they're all perverts. That's what they're all perverts, and they're all trying to like just rape women. That's
Jesus
essentially
Christ.
what his argument is. I don't think he thinks trans men are real. I don't think he even knows about trans men, but I think he thinks all trans women are rapists and they're in the bathroom to rape women. That's what they're there for. So, and that's the narrative. And understand, like, Joe is like kind of not full hardcore. Like, Joe is kind of just like, he's like your intro class. He's like Red Pill 101.
Right. Yeah.
There's way harder people out there than Joe Rogan.
Yeah. And that's really important stuff, because Joe Rogan is he's the opening wedge.
Yeah.
Right. He's the opening wedge. When stuff like this happens, one of the most important things to consider is that when the law stops being the way that we decide on our sort of social structure and what's enforceable and what's not. When the law is not that tool that we use, then like all the rules get made up by whoever walks around with a stick.